basically, virtualization involves sharing resources. And what I'd like to do is, in a very simple way, describe virtualization by talking about what a generator is, right? Anybody live here during the time of Hurricane Andrew? Yeah. Right? So everybody here knows how generators work, right? Did any of you have a generator that you shared with your neighbors? Right? Anybody do that? Or did you have to go to your neighbors and ask them to share with you? Why is it that you can do that? Well, if you've got a 10,000 watt generator and you crank it up and all you have connected to it is a couple of lights and a little refrigerator, you know that you can connect some more things to it. There's excess capacity that you're not using. That's a concept that, unless you look at it from the perspective of consumption, doesn't make sense. But those of us that have lived through it, we know. If our neighbor came over and we've got the generator maxed, and they say, listen, let me plug in my refrigerator, say, oof, can't do it, don't have the capacity. Over the last 4 or 5 years, computers have gotten very powerful. Servers have gotten very powerful. So programs themselves haven't gotten a lot more sophisticated, but computers have gotten much more powerful. So as a result, there's an excess of computing power. Now, this is not a new concept. Back in the days of IBM mainframes, there was an excess of computing power, and virtualization is something that was used 20 years ago with mainframes because there was this excess processing power, and they wanted to find a way to maximize it, utilize it for the benefit of the business. Anyone here that has a notebook computer or a PC at home that you've bought in the last year or two, chances are that if you put up the actual CPU monitor while you're working, you'd see that it's like at 3, 4, 5%. 95% of the resource on your computer is not being used. So the concept of virtualization is just that. How can I take and maximize the use of the resources that I have available to me? So in a traditional model, what you basically have is one piece of hardware that has CPU, memory, a network interface card, and disks. You have an operating system, and then you have applications, right? Operating system would be Windows XP. Applications would be Microsoft Office or Outlook Express, whatever. Virtualization says, look, if you do that, you're wasting 95% or 90% of the resources. Why don't we, instead of running one, let's run two? So companies like VMware and Citrix and Microsoft developed a software which is frequently referred to as a hypervisor. And this software sits between the hardware and the operating system. That software allows the operating system to think that it's talking directly to the hardware, but it's not. It's talking to that hypervisor. And the hypervisor is like a supervisor or a traffic cop that allows each one of those instances to think that they're talking to the hardware, even though each one of them is talking to the hardware one at a time. They're sharing the use of that hardware. So when virtual machine 1 is idle, virtual machine 2 is using it, and they go back and forth. I'll give you a case study from Broward Health. So when I came on board, we had about 600 servers. I walked in the door and they said, hey, I'm glad to have you. You're the chief technology guy. Good. Hey, listen, we got a problem here with the servers. Fix it. So we had 600 servers that were between 5 and 7 years old. And I had to go to the finance director and say, listen, what's 500 times or 600 times 55, 6,000, 7,000, multiply that out. How many millions do I need? They're like, listen, we don't have that kind of money. So I walked up and said, well, listen, here's what we're going to do. Give me a quarter of that. Let me have $1 million instead of $4.5 million. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a virtual infrastructure, and we're going to take these physical machines that are old, and instead of replacing them with new pieces of hardware, we're going to take and buy powerful servers and then time slice them so that they can run all of these different servers. So this particular slide, the reason that I put it up is because it really, in very simple terms, describes what that means. So The old network had a domain controller, a web server, a database server, another domain controller, application servers, 11 of them. So by using virtualization, you buy 3 servers, virtual machine server 1, 2, 3, and then you build virtual machines on those 3. Think about this in simple mathematical terms. So if, just for the sake of round numbers, if we're talking $10,000 a server, it's $110,000 versus $30,000. Now there's some overhead because you have to buy this virtualization software, but it's nowhere near that. What's the conclusion you can draw from this? This is a no-brainer. In terms of basics, we already covered a little bit of this. Excess capacity, data center consolidation. Obviously, if you're talking about 3 servers versus 11, or like in my case, I went from 600 servers to about 70 physical servers. So my data center was completely packed when I took over, and the data center now is 45% of the data center is open raised floor space. My staff wants to put in a pool table, which I think is kind of pushing the whole reward thing, but the point is that that's a big benefit. Rapid recovery and provisioning. What does that mean? A virtual machine, keep me honest on time, a virtual machine is literally a file. Like a Word document is a file. There's data inside of that document. A virtual machine literally is a file. You can copy it. You can restore it. If a virtual machine goes down and you have a clone of it, you can simply go to wherever you have that copy it over, and you're back up and running. That simple. I mean, I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but I'm really not. That really is how it works. Hardware reuse was another really important point, because if you have this is a company that has 20 servers, of which 15 are very old and 5 are really pretty new. There's no reason that you can't take those 5 really new servers and re-provision them to host all of the servers on those 5 machines. All right? Does that make sense? And a lot of flexibility. Virtual machines give you a great deal of flexibility in terms of your management and control, because you have an operations staff that's sitting at a console of management software. They know what the server's doing. They know what is happening in terms of processing, utilization, memory. They know if something is not going well or a service needs to be stopped or started. They have a great deal of control over the environment. It gives you a lot of flexibility.